he was asking them to abandon their entire purpose for being part of the expedition. Additionally, he ordered that the scientists could no longer ride horses or wagons, and that they must walk. Now, the expedition left Melbourne with 27 camels and 23 horses, but how they were used was puzzling. George insisted that the camels traveled without a supply of their riders, so they could be fresh for the latter half of the expedition. Many of the horses were both wagons. Robert forbid the two doctors, who were among the oldest men in the party, from riding them. He also limited personal items to only 30 pounds each in order for everyone to carry their own belongings instead of putting them on the wagons. If all of these changes sound ridiculous, it's because they were, and they were simply another ploy by Robert to reduce his numbers, and his hope was that the scientists would leave the expedition. Despite his orders from the Victorian government and the Royal Society, Robert only cared about reaching the North Coast, and the immortality he believed would come from being the first to cross Australia from the south. These new orders obviously did nothing to ease the tension between Robert and George, and from the beginning they had a prickly relationship. Robert's particular issue with George involved the camels. George's insistence on carrying an obscene amount of rum for the camels created problems, as many of the crew criticized partaking of it. And the final straw for their relationship was their disagreement on how to transport the camels across the Darling River. George believed that the camels should be taken to the other side of the river in small, flat-bottomed boats, but they didn't have one big enough for the job. Robert pressed this point, and as the expedition leader, he had to make a decision since they were already so far behind. While George protested, Robert assigned William to the task of leading each of the camels into the river and onto the opposite bank. As this occurred, George committed the unforgivable sin of questioning Robert's authority. There was already no coming back from that, but before Robert could relieve George of his position, George resigned first. Then,
get on a plane with all your friends, but suddenly have a vision that it'll crash. Of course, you get off the plane, you cheat death, only to find out the Reaper doesn't like to be shortchanged, so he comes back to claim the lives he's owed. One by one, your friends die in freak accidents. That's what happened to Alex Browning in Final Destination, but the story didn't end with him. There were 4 more of these movies, and after a 14-year hiatus, another on the way. So let's look back and see if we can't unravel Death's design. Join me if you dare, as I examine the Final Destination timeline and try to make sense of all the rules. The Reaper's rules. Yeah, I just came up with that. Spoilers ahead, let's go. These movies were mostly released in chronological order, with one notable exception. There's a twist at the end of Final Destination 5, revealing it's actually a prequel that leads into the plane crash from the original.